Hello everyone, I'm Pappy the Sappy, as the channel name says. So, I've been playing Dead by Daylight for a while now. Not for years, like some content creators, but long enough to understand the fundamentals of the game, to have seen metas get established and fall, and I've been through MMR hell, I've secured some eerie ranks, and I've had some great plays along the way. DBD has been a very, very fun game, and I really enjoyed the journey streaming it this past year. That's the thing, though. It has been fun. I really enjoyed streaming it. More of the past tense. I've sort of been feeling my enjoyment slip away, and now it feels like a lot of it has fallen away. So, here's why. I've actually spent the last couple days really thinking about the changes that have been coming and the changes that are now, in fact, live, and really thinking about what it is about it that really bothers me. I'm not the kind of person who really likes to just, put my knee-jerk reaction out there and stuff like that. I kind of like to think things over. I feel like it adds a little bit more context, a little bit more complexity and nuance to discussions when you actually really get a good idea of what's bothering you. So I started playing Dead by Daylight because it was supposed to be a very fun and unique experience, and indeed it is. I mean, it's getting a little less unique now that certain other games have come out, but it still stands as one of the better ones. And trust me, that's something that I really wanted after spending a couple of years suffering through the solo queue experience of Apex Legends. While the games are wildly different mechanically, it was the dynamic between Killer and Survivor that really hooked me. Pun somewhat intended. I liked the cat and mouse game a lot, but what I really appreciated was that both sides could have fun and both sides could win the match. Some will argue about what should count as a win for Killer, but to me, if the survivors and the killer are all able to get at least one pip, then to me, everyone won. Some people will say that you have to get 3 kills. Sometimes some people will have to say that, you have to get so many hooks. If you pip once, you made it out. You got something. Or maybe you didn't make it out and you still got something. But that's the thing. Everyone could engage with the other players. Everyone could walk away with something. Everyone could have fun. I was one of the people who was actually very happy with the massive perk rework they did back in July. While there were some that were lackluster, calm mind, I felt that most were really healthy for the game. The game felt a little more fresh and interesting. And another big improvement came more recently with the HUD update for survivors. This did a great job of giving solo queue players more info to work off of, which led to the solo queue experience improving. I cannot stress how important that was for so many players. This also, rather hilariously, caused them to give Buckle Up a much-needed buff, since otherwise it would be entirely useless instead of only being practically useless. And it was also around this time I started spending more time playing Survivor. I was more interested in the fun builds you could make with them, and I actually felt comfortable to do this because I felt like solo queue was a little bit easier to get into and was a little bit easier to play around since I could have a better idea of what was going on with my teammates. Gimmicky Survivor builds were fun, especially when you got away with, some wacky hijinks. I still love running Dead by Pixies For the People We're Gonna Live Forever build. And one of my favorite memories was a play I got against a Trickster, where I managed to get the pickup with For the People. The Trickster hit the picked up Survivor. They zoomed off with their endurance. He turned on me, tried to hit me. I dead-hearted, and we both got away. I apologize to that Trickster if that was a frustrating experience to you, but to me, that was a fun and goofy little interaction. But you got the kill later, so I think we're even. But it was only after seeing the changes in the most recent PTB and experiencing the changes that made it through to the live servers that I realized what I was feeling. And it was something that wasn't as prevalent before, but it was exceedingly clear now. And that is that the devs at Behavior have an idea of how they want you to play the game, and they're going to make you play it that way, whether you like it or not. And believe me, Behavior, a lot of us don't like it. Otsara and other creators have noted that a lot of the changes that just dropped are changes made off of a spreadsheet. They're slight number tweaks that are inspired by performance readouts that don't seek to understand the underlying issues with certain perks, with certain add-ons, with certain killers. The changes that are more intensive generally make the game sweatier or cause your survivability to be tied entirely to altruism. So let's actually take a look at the changes that were made, and we got those up right behind us. So first of all, I started here. There's not a lot here that I want to talk about, except for the fact that even as someone who played the Wraith, who still plays Wraith a lot, I still love playing him. I didn't think this needed to be changed. I didn't think we really needed to get rid of the light burn on Wraith. You know, although I understand that some people probably have a much worse experience with it than I do. Protecting the Artist Crows, you know, fine, okay. You know, making the Hag's Traps a, survivor interaction, a general basic survivor interaction, fine, quality of life improvement. I don't think we needed to do anything with the nurse. I don't think we needed to buff the nurse. I don't think it was necessary. I don't think anyone really thinks it was necessary. I also don't think that anyone really ever did this. I know I've never burned the Spirit's Husk, but you know, sure, fine, whatever. I think even the slightest buff to the nurse is a mistake. I've had some great plays where I helped people get out of, you know, a difficult situation with the nurse by flashlighting her as she tried to teleport in to get it down. And, you know, the nurse still performed really strongly despite that one flashlight play that I got on her. So I think we were all good. I think we're all pretty fine with that. But, you know, sure, whatever. But let's get on to the healing stuff, because the healing stuff is really the meat and potatoes of my issues with the more recent buff. And it really just goes to show how completely out of touch behavior is with the community. And this isn't something new. A lot of people have complained about behavior being out of touch with the community in the past. It rather famously took one of the devs playing killer against some Korean players and getting insta-blinded several times and only getting like one hook, I believe. It took that happening. It took it happening to them for insta-blinds to get removed. So yeah, it's not exactly insane to suggest that they're out of touch with the community, but it really shows here. So the general healing decreased one unsuccessful healing great skill checks from 5 to 3%. Why? I mean, they walked back so many of the healing nerfs in that. The healing base time is set back to 16. It was going to be 20. It was 24 in the PTB, and that was a change that they were going to make live, and then massive pushback stopped it from happening. But this makes it through. Necessary? No. And that's the thing, is that when you're making changes to a game like this, there are two questions you have to ask. Is this change necessary, and is it good? Because here's the thing. If a change is necessary, then it can be a more okay change. If something needs to be changed, and the change is okay, then that's okay, you know? Because it's something that needed to happen, and even if it's not the greatest change, if it's better than where it was, then okay. But if it's something that didn't need to be changed, that nobody was really, that there wasn't a massive demand for, then you really have to make sure that you're making a good change, because even a side grade, can garner a lot of ire from the community if it was something where it's like, did this need to happen? And I really don't think that this needed to happen. Killer tweaks, the hillbilly. They kept the overheat modifications from the PTB, which it's one of those things where their goal seems to be to make the overheat mechanic less intrusive. Which the overheat mechanic was already unintrusive to begin with. one of the developers on stream said that commented that you need to try you need to try to overheat your chainsaw. So there was already this idea that like that the overheat mechanic didn't do a lot. This current change, seeks to, make it even less obtrusive. So it begs the question, why not just remove it? But, whatever. We'll probably never get a response on that. But one thing that we can't forget is the fact, while we're talking about behavior being out of touch with the community, is the fact that something that thankfully did not make it into the live servers is the change to the engravings add-ons. The engravings add-ons, as other players have commented, are what makes Billy really fun, is what allows you to do like curves easier, and they were planning on nerfing it, as if poor Billy needs more nerfs. But again, it was massive pushback from the community that caused them to walk back the changes to the engraving add-ons. The pig. Let's keep roasting behavior here, because I remember in the developer update talking about the what they were bringing to the PTB. They had a cheeky little joke about, like, oh, we decided to nerf the pig. I mean, buff the add-on. It's like, ha 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 ha. Yeah, we get it. You've heard the meme. The problem is that the meme is about you being out of touch a-holes that just nerfed poor Amanda into the ground. And again, it was a situation where you asked, was this necessary? No, it wasn't. Nerfing the pig into the ground was not necessary, but you did it anyways. And now trying to get in on the joke, like, hey guys, yeah, we know the joke. We referenced the joke. It's fun, right? It's fun, right? No, it's really not, because the John's Medical File add-on getting this slight buff is the least you could do for the pig. It's the least you could do, but I suppose at least you did something. The Xenobite, the box teleporting away, good. They can't camp it. They can't camp the box, as Coconut RTS cursed us with, and is continuing to curse us with, as he has released another video that that is probably going to drive another change to it. The clown, again, this is another spreadsheet update. This is another spreadsheet buff that is. Here's the thing. They're desperately trying to balance this without realizing that this is really just the Huntress's iridescent heads with extra steps. That's really what it is. It's the iridescent hatchet with extra steps. Instead of hit the survivor with your ability and they go down, it's hit the survivor with your ability and then they become exposed, so then they can go down. It's you can take away another bottle, but it's not going to change the fact that, just like what's happened to me and countless other people, a Huntress with iridescent heads comes upon you. They're going to hold that hatchet. And they're going to get in right on you, and they're going to follow you, and they're going to follow you until they're breathing down your neck, and then they're going to hatchet you point blank. And that's what's happened. That's what's happened to me. And I've had something similar happen with the clown running the Redhead's Pinky Finger. This actually happened to me on stream. I was actually trying to lure the clown away so that the other survivors could get out. And I was trying to either luck into running into the hatch or make it to the gate. And I was just weaving around wildly, and the clown was just tracking me the whole way with that bottle up. And then I managed to juke one bottle, but then, I was slowed and couldn't dodge a second, and so I went down. They're just going to stand there with the bottle ready, and then they're going to mess you up. This is not something that you can just make, like a slight tweak like this and fix. Freddy getting buffs, okay, sure. I mean, the extension of the blindness is at least substantial. I don't know how useful it's going to be. I don't play Freddy. I don't hate myself enough to play Freddy. Speaking of killers that I don't hate myself enough to play, Pyramid Head, which I feel kind of bad for because I've seen a lot of people play Pyramid Head, and it looks like you can do some really cool and fun stuff. It's just the Scarlet Egg add-on getting the slight buff. I mean, even Spooky Loops, when he was going over the changes in the PTB, just straight up said, I'm not playing the Executioner just so I can watch the Killer Instinct last a second and a half longer. I'm not doing this. Their add-ons need a full rework, but instead they decided to buff the Scarlet Egg add-on, which is the purple add-on, which is just a stronger version of a green add-on, which is a stronger version of a yellow add-on, if I recall correctly. So there's multiple add-ons that do the same thing, just one better, you know, each of them better than the other, and you decided to just buff one of them. Okay. And then the Oni. Oni players don't use these add-ons. Oni players don't use these add-ons because they don't provide the kind of bonuses, they don't benefit the playstyle as well as other ones do. And the fact that they're only 0.4 from 0.3, 0.7 from 0.6. This is the worst example of spreadsheet changes because they're like, oh, these add-ons don't get used much. These add-ons don't get used much. They underperform. Why don't we just give it a buff? Okay. Perk updates. Pain Resonance. So here's a fun little thing. As someone who has played a lot of Killer and as someone who has gotten a lot of use out of Pain Res, let me tell you something. Killers who run Pain Resonance usually try to keep track of, you know, I mean, all killers, I think, generally try to keep track of which survivors they've hooked and how many times. And what you don't want to do is lose a Scourge hook. So what do? If you know that someone's death hook, you put them on a regular hook. You don't lose a Scourge hook. And that's what people do with Pain Res because they want to be able to maximize the value they can get. So generally speaking, you're going to get 2 uses of Scourge hook Pain Res out of, you know, on every survivor. And with the old value being 15, that meant that you get 2 Scourge hooks if you manage to get 2 Scourge hooks on a survivor, because it's very possible that you down a survivor in an area where there are no Scourge hooks. It happened to me. There's actually a clip of me where I stalked a Leon in RPD, dropped off a balcony, finished the mark, and downed him. And when I was going to hook him, I realized that I had 2 hooks on the west side of East Wing, 1 hook in the front, in that front outdoors area, and 1 hook in the main hall of RPD, and nothing on the East Wing of RPD East Wing. So yeah, if I down a survivor over there, I get no value from Pain Res. So, but let's say I do manage to get 2 hooks on all 4 survivors, 2 Pain Reses on all 4 survivors. Guess what? With the old 15% value, that means I got 30% value on each survivor. Now that there's a 4 token system, guess what? I get 25% value. So this is a marginal nerf that frustrates the whole situation, and it also means that because it only activates the first time you put someone on a Scourge hook, it also means that unless you purposefully try to save your first Scourge hook on each survivor until later in the game, you're going to lose your late game potential. You're going to lose the late game value that you could get out of old Pain Res. But, you know, whatever. This is I mean, I already broke down the math. The change in the value that you could get from 30%, possibly 45% on each survivor if you actually are going to sacrifice a Scourge hook for the kill. Typically, you're going to get 30% on each survivor. Now you can only get 25%. sure, whatever. It seems like it doesn't make that much of a change, and it really just frustrates the experience for killers. But whatever. Gearhead, good change, no complaints. Circle of Healing, back onto the problem with the healing meta. It's not even really healing meta so much. It's really just the problem with what's happened to healing. I hate this change. I'm not going to try to smooth it over. I'm not going to try to be all nice about it. I'm just going to say it. I hate this change. I really hate this change. And it's really just an absolutely nonsensical change that essentially makes it a dead perk. And I know some people are going to roll their eyes and be like, oh, another person saying, oh, this is a dead perk. This is a dead perk. And I'm usually one of those people. But here's the thing. Removing the self-heal makes it less useful for everyone, because now it relies on survivors being altruistic. And guess what? If other survivors aren't going to come over and give you a heal when you're in there, then it's useless. It's done nothing. I think someone jokingly said, hey, if you loop if you're injured and you loop the killer near your boon, then they can see where you are and they can know that you're looping them over there. I'm like, fucking okay. I guess it's technically an information perk, I guess. But here's the other thing. If you get unhooked or you manage to lose the killer and you're more than 8 seconds from the boon, then it's useless. Because here's the thing. That 100% healing speed bonus to altruism healing, that is healing other people, seems really, really interesting, seems really, really appealing. I know. But that drops the 16% heal down to an 8-second heal. And guess what? That 8 seconds that you would save from healing in the boon, if you have to spend 8 seconds running over to the boon, then guess what? It's meaningless. You might as well just heal under hook or heal wherever you find the other survivor. There's no point in running to the boon. And yeah, and medkits don't stack with boon circle of healing. So they reworked medkits to promote altruism, and they reworked boon circle of healing to promote altruism, and then they made it so that they don't interact. Okay behavior. Okay, sure, whatever. So boon circle of healing basically becomes a wasted perk slot, because like I said, odds are if you're 8 seconds or more away from the boon, it's useless. If you're playing solo queue and nobody wants to go with you to the boon to heal you, it's useless. And the fact that you would have to have another survivor go with you to the boon means that not only have you wasted time going over to the boon to get the heal, but another survivor has wasted their time going over with you to the boon. I feel like I feel like self-care should get a bonus. And maybe 100% bonus to the double the self-care speed, so it's 70%. That doesn't completely break it, especially because it also means that the person that if you want to make use of that, then you have to bring 2 perks. You have to waste 2 perk slots to get a 70% speed self-care. Dead Hard, I don't think it needed to be changed. I know some people were still complaining about Dead Hard, but some people are going to continue to complain about Dead Hard until the day they die. They could remove Dead Hard from the game. They could nerf Dead Hard into press E and you die, and press E to be instantly sacrificed to the entity, and someone would complain about it. It's how it's going to be. But I think it was in a good position where it was. They removed Dead Harding for distance, so it was now working as intended, and it became much more, risk reward, high risk, high reward. And if you waited it out, then good for you. If the survivor, screwed up activating it, then out of luck for them. But if they managed to actually, use it, then they got to zip off with an on-hit burst. Overzealous, I feel like it should have worked alongside booning from the get-go. So okay, uh Call of Ryan and overcharge nerfs. The overcharge nerf I believe was definitely overkill. I think it should be at least 150%. And the fact that they knocked the the fact that they knocked the extra progression loss from failing the overcharge skill check by 1% is just like it's spitting in the wound. It's spitting in the wound. The nerfed Call of Brine, you know, I'm kind of okay with, but you know, it's, I mean, if it breaks up the gen kick meta, you know, some people are like, well, it breaks up the gen kick meta, you know. I'm like, yeah, but at what cost? But now the medkit update. Boy, do I hate the medkit update. This is also a nerf to solo queue, and it's also a complete travesty. So Otsarva did like a breakdown of like his opinions on like the different changes in the PTB. And I have to say, I honestly disagree with him, because he had the attitude, you know, he had the attitude of, you know, if it breaks up the, you know, if it breaks up the meta, then I guess it's okay, you know, the changes to the med kits are, you know, fine, I guess, you know, it's okay, you know, whatever. But it's really not, because this is just a, like I said, this is just a nerf to solo queue. Because here's the thing, people don't bring medkits for other people. People bring medkits for themselves, because you can always heal other people, but you can't always heal yourself. And you definitely don't want to be the person who's self-carrying in the corner of the map for, you know, fucking 2 minutes. So what do? You bring a medkit. And you're gonna, and if you have a really good medkit and you got good add-ons, then you're gonna have, you know, speedy heals and whatnot. I've definitely been the kind of person who got an emergency med kit, put on speed add-ons, gave myself enough extra healing speed, so that like botany would stack on top of it, and I'd be able to get 1 full heal in like record time. But that's the thing, I get 1 full heal in record time, and that's it. It's a gimmick, you know. If they wanted to nerf healing speeds, fine, but to do this to the average solo queue player, the camping aid kit is now far better than the ranger med kit, because again, you're not bringing it for others. You're not bringing it for others. And so the healing others being improved by 50% over what, 35%, even if you were going to bring it for other people, that's not that much of a change. And the brown med kit is so much easier to get. You can get so many more of them, and they all have the same amount of charges, and the difference in altruism healing speed is not much. That and if you're going to pair it with like a syringe or something, then you'd much rather throw away a brown med kit than a purple med kit. Plain and simple. This was entirely unnecessary, and the idea that they were going to this goes back to what I said earlier. Behavior has their idea of how they want you to play, and this is it. They want you to be altruistic, but you can't just force people to be altruistic. But I'll get more into that in a minute here. So medkits are trash now. The add-ons update, some of the add-ons updates I actually like. The bonus skill check size getting bigger with sponge rubber gloves is a neat change. Some of this stuff getting bumped up in rarity, so gel dressings are now iridescent, is just insane. And this also makes it a nerf to anti-hemorrhagic syringe. Because of the speed and efficiency penalty, this now means that a anti-hemorrhagic syringe takes 24 seconds to activate. So I hope that you are I hope that the killer's nowhere near you, because if they are and they see you and they feel like going after you, then you better hope that you're able to loop them for 24 seconds. If they get 1 hit on you, then that syringe is useless. You throw away that medkit for nothing. GG's, I guess. Blood Wave improvements is good. I've got no complaints about that. I think that's a great quality of life update. That's actually a very good quality of life update. For those of you who don't know, once you have prestige character, in the middle of the blood web, there will be a little button where you can click that, and it will start auto spending your blood points. It'll prioritize perks and rare items and add-ons, and it just allows you to speed through the blood web. Cool. It also allows you to just like click on a point further out in the blood web and it'll automatically purchase up to that point. Great. Time saver. So here's the thing. You can't just gut things because well, we don't want you to do this. We want you to do this other thing. So we're gonna gut this thing. We're gonna take away your self-care option. We're gonna take away the self-care ability from the boon, and we're going to make it harder to heal yourself in the med kit. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We're gonna punish looking after yourself. Which, here's the thing. It's so hard to punish selfish players without just punishing people who don't have good teammates. And another thing before I get too far off of it, if I can go back to the circle of healing, the thing about the circle of healing nerf is that it basically flies in the face of what boons are supposed to be. Boons are supposed to be the counterpart to hexes, where hexes are a perk for killers that is really powerful but can be taken away by the survivors. Boons are supposed to be something that allows you to do some really good stuff, but the killer can take it away. Fair and balanced. I mean, some people say that boons are more powerful because because they can be reset up. But here's the thing: you also don't start the game with your boon. You have to take the time to set that up, and it takes you much longer to set up the boon than it does for the killer to snuff it. And so if the killer is able to loop you around and gets it down and walks over, snuffs the boon, guess what? That's not a lot of time wasted from him. It's a lot of time wasted for you if you want to run back over and set it back up. So let's get back to what I mentioned earlier about how behavior seems to have their idea of how it should be played. It's clear that they want you to be altruistic, and that's a good thing. Players should be more altruistic, but this is not how you do that. And it seems that with some of these changes, they want the game to be a lot more competitively minded. But that's not why a lot of people got into DBD. A lot of people got into DBD because it's a fun and engaging experience where you get to interact with like a horror or slasher movie killer, and sometimes with a literal horror or slasher movie character. It's really cool being chased around by Ghostface or Pinhead or Michael Myers. It's really cool getting to interact with it, and also they've got some really interesting, some really cool original characters. Do not steal. I can't help it. I'm a product of my era. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's really engaging, and you can do a lot of really cool and fun, interesting stuff. You can have some really fun interactions. It can also be fun, when you get to go against a more friendly killer and stuff like that. It's always nice going, realizing you're in a match against Pig and walking up and seeing if they'll let you boop the snoot. And if they let you boop the snoot, then it's going to be a great match. And if they don't, then, well, run. But a lot of people got into it because the game is fun, because it's fun and unique, and turning this into a sweaty, competitive game, where they force you to rely on other players that you cannot communicate with outside of point, wave, or if you have a map, drop a marker, that's the extent to which you can really engage with other players other than, teabagging at them. So you don't really have any way of communicating with other players, but you're expected to be able to communicate with them and be in sync with them. that doesn't work for solo queue players. It doesn't work for solo queue players. A lot of this is just punishing solo queue, and it makes the game just less fun, more sweaty, and not everyone wants to play it at a competitive level. A lot of people want to play it more casually. You know, I play to win a lot of times, but I also want to have fun. You know, I'm not out there trying to be like the next, like tournament, killer or whatever, hard tunneling, one person out, and, just keeping threes and stuff like that. A lot of us just want to have fun. And the game's getting sweatier, and because of that, it's getting less fun. And it's not great. It's really not great. I became more of a survivor main because it was fun. But now that self-healing has been nerfed so hard, I actually started running my Vanishing Act build, which is Overcome, Lucky Break, Quick and Quiet, and Inner Healing, so that you can take a hit, zoom off with no trails of blood or scratch marks, Quick and Quiet to silently enter a locker, and then Inner Healing to heal yourself while you're in the locker. And that's a build that I used to run as a gimmick. That's a build that I used to run to be like, okay, let's have a fun chase, and then the moment the killer hits me, I'm gonna turn a corner and vanish, and that was a fun gimmicky build. And now I feel like I kind of have to run a build like that. I have to run a build with like Inner Healing, because I can't rely on being able to consistently heal myself throughout the game. Not unless I want to spend 2 perk slots on self-care botany knowledge. Me, I guess. I love being able to run fun gimmicky builds because they were fun gimmicky builds, and now I have to run them, because otherwise I just eat shit. And here's the thing: if other people start running Inner Healing, guess what? There's only 5 totems on the map. There's only 5 totems on the map. So guess what? Sucks for you, I guess. Sucks for all of us, really. But another thing that I heard, some people have been joking that autodidact might become the new meta, which, while hilarious to think about, would also be incredibly depressing. And while I have played some killer games, while I have played some killer games yesterday, and it's been fun, it's still kind of hard to enjoy it. It's still a little bit of a more sour experience, because I'm thinking about how half of the experience of the game is just worse for me. It's solo queue survivor play is not as fun now, and the fact that half the game is just now sucks a bit more is sad. It's depressing. It makes me enjoy the whole game less because of it. So the worst part is that design choices like this they always have a negative impact on player morale and player engagement. And this is something that behavior should know. This is something that I feel like every game designer should know. And it's something that's clear when you look at other games. As someone who used to play Warframe a lot, I have shared my fair amount of ire towards Digital Extremes, since their attitude of balancing weapons and whatnot was, oh, these weapons are really popular, really meta. People are using these weapons mostly. We're just gonna torch these weapons, and then they'll use these other weapons. No, they're not. We're not using the other weapons because the other weapons are bad. Because the other weapons aren't good. Because you're making a game with damage sponge enemies, so we need weapons that have a stupid amount of DPS. And so when you just torch the meta stuff, and when you just torch the stuff that we like, that we are using because it's what's best, and you force us to use suboptimal stuff, it's not fun. It's not fun. And we go back even further, even older than Warframe even, and look at a mechanic in some older MMOs, especially Chinese and Korean MMOs, something that was in the beta for World of Warcraft, if I remember correctly, called experience fatigue. A lot of people watching this probably don't know what that is. But and for those of you who do, I apologize because I probably just sent you into a fight or flight response. Because experience fatigue was an awful mechanic, and it was introduced primarily in Chinese and Korean MMOs because people over there and also in Japan and some other countries were experiencing like high addiction rates to MMOs, and that people were spending like easily over half their day, playing on MMOs, and their health was declining. They weren't showing up for work. And so like national productivity was dropping. And so they introduced like experience fatigue because what it did was once you had played a certain amount, your character would become fatigued and would only get like 50% experience gain. That got put into the beta of World of Warcraft, and the players revolted. They were absolutely livid because it's like, so you're just gonna punish us for wanting to play this for a long time. And what they discovered was that a better mechanic that is in World of Warcraft now, that is in a lot of MMOs now, is the rested bonus, where sometimes if you just log out, sometimes it requires you to go to like an inn or something and set your character as resting. While you're offline, you get a little bubble along your EXP bar, and as you earn EXP within that bubble, it's bonus EXP. You get extra EXP on top of what you would normally earn. So if you normally earn like 100 EXP, then you get like 125 instead, or something like that. It instead of punishing people for doing something, reward them for doing the opposite. It's really simple. Every time a game developer has introduced a mechanic or made changes that punishes one thing to try and force people into the other thing, it always upsets the players. It always makes players leave. It always frustrates the experience, and it makes the game worse. It makes the game less enjoyable. This isn't a new concept. It's not. Behavior should know better. Behavior should be able to figure out some kind of, even if the people like at behavior can't figure out something, talk to the players. Talk to people like at Starvo, like Spooky Loops. Talk to these people who who study the game, who know it inside and out, who have all these ideas for how you can improve the game. Talk with them, work with them, use their ideas. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I have the answers, but I know a bad solution when I see one. And this is a terrible solution. I don't want to play Survivor anymore. I just don't. I'm not even sure if I really want to stream Dead by Daylight anymore. And the idea that I had that I would get to, that I would get to take, some of my old DVD clips and compile them and, finally upload some more DVD content. I'm not even sure if I want to do that anymore. Mostly because it's just gonna cause my channel to be, more DVD centric to the algorithm, and eventually I want to make more content, and I honestly am not sure if I want the future of my content to have anything to do with Dead by Daylight. I might do some like killer streams, but a lot of times I'd play, a lot of killer games and then go, oh, I kind of want to switch to Survivor and stuff like that. And now, if I get killer fatigue, it's just going to be like, oh, I guess I'll play a different game or end the stream or something. I don't know. And it might just be better off if I just figure out something else to take up my Saturday time slot. But yeah, I really want to see these changes walked back because this just makes it so much less fun, and it makes it so much sweatier, and I just want to enjoy the game. I just want to enjoy the game behavior. I just want to hop on and have fun. I don't want to sweat. I don't want to stress out about where I'm going to get healed. I don't want to deal with all this extra crap. I just want to have fun. And I remember a point in time when you were allowed to do that in games. And I'd like it if we could get back to that. Because Dead by Daylight was one of those, Dead by Daylight was, the last DJ. It was the holdout, the one that didn't sell out. And it was a game where you could still have fun. And if this is the direction that it's going, then, well, maybe Spooky Loops was right. And, if a lot of the updates, went live, the game was going to die. Maybe if the game goes into a massive decline, then behavior will understand the mistakes that they made. However, if the game goes into a massive decline, possible the game doesn't recover. I just hope that behavior does something about this much sooner than later. So, have a good day, and keep up with my schedule on the community tab. Consider following me on Twitter, on Twitch, and I hope I'll see you live. Bye-bye.